Stellar Blade, a game that started with one simple question: what is humanity? Can it be lost, or can it be replaced? A daring project for these developers, but did their gamble pay off? Before we dive in, I want to give you all an update about my channel. I've launched a membership for just 99 cents where you can have access to custom badges and emojis. I've got Stellar Blade, Nier, Drakengard, and more emojis coming your way. If you enjoy my videos and want to watch them ad-free, there's a second tier for just $2.99. That'll give you early access to my videos, and of course, no ads. And it's okay if you can't join, no worries. Everything on my page will still be available for free. Nothing will change for the viewers who want to watch it for free. This is just a way to help my channel grow and give back to those who want to support me. Now, a heads up, this video and any future videos about Stellar Blade will definitely have spoilers. So if you want to go into this game with fresh eyes, now's your chance to bail. And also, don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button. Now, let's talk about the game. On April 4th, 2019, Shift Up Studio announced Project Eve, which was originally slated for PlayStation 4, PC, and Xbox One, powered by Unreal Engine. But in September of 2021, the game was revealed to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive, with Sony stepping in as publisher. Fast forward to September of 2022, during PlayStation's State of Play event, we finally got the official title, Stellar Blade. The game launched worldwide on March 29, 2024, though it was accidentally released early in the US on March 8th, only to be quickly pulled down. It's also confirmed to be coming to PC sometime in 2025. On November 11, 2024, a new DLC trailer dropped, revealing a collaboration with Nier Automata. This update included a brand new photo mode and 4 fresh outfits for Eve, with skins inspired by A2 and 2B. It was released on November 20th, 2024. By June of 2024, Stellar Blade had already sold over 1 million copies, and was nominated for Best Score and Music and Best Action at the Game Awards of 2024. Shift Up is a South Korean video game developer and publisher, founded on December 2nd, 2013 by Kim Hwang-tae, who is also the director of Stellar Blade. He previously worked on Blade and Soul, and is also known for Goddess of Victory Nikki, the mobile game. In an interview, the director mentioned that the people in South Korea thought that he was crazy for wanting to make a console game. Over there, mobile games are the dominant genre. In Korea, it's pretty rare to get chances to work on a game like this. For most of the developers, this was their first AAA project. Chang-min Lee, the concept art lead, said that when he was creating the characters, they didn't start with the character design itself. Instead, they focused on the clothes first. They actually bought physical clothes, had a model wear them, and then scanned the clothes to make them 3D. The director explains that this approach was part of their goal to create a higher quality game with more realistic visuals. Now for the monsters, they wanted to take a different approach than usual monsters you see. Hwang-tae Kim explains that they wanted to maximize the feeling of discomfort when creatures don't conform to the human form. These monsters evoke discomfort because of their fundamental differences in appearance. The director also reached out to the guy who created the monsters for the movie The Host. No, not the 2013 film, but the 2006 The Host, directed by Bong Joon-ho. And I'm going to throw this disclaimer out. I apologize if I'm saying anybody's names wrong. The designer's name is Chang-hee Cho, and he works at Weta, a New Zealand-based digital visual effects company founded by the legend Peter Jackson, the mastermind behind the Lord of the Rings movies. If you're a fan of superhero movies, you've probably seen some of Weta's magic in action. Thanks to his experience at Weta, Zhang was able to share his knowledge with the Stellar Blade designers. They created the monsters by sculpting physical mock-ups. This helped the team understand mass representation, which gave the characters a strong sense of presence and helped with their proportions. The K-pop artist Bibi, which yet again, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, did a collaboration with Stellar Blade on her song Eve. The music video dropped on April 18th, 2024, and let me tell you, there were some neat little Easter eggs in it. I'll drop a link in the description. If you want me to do a breakdown on that video, let me know in the comments. For the music, they worked with the company Monaka. If you're not familiar, this studio has worked on tons of anime and games. They've contributed to Nier and Drakengard franchises, for example. I keep seeing online that Keiichi Okabe worked on the soundtrack, but I couldn't find any definitive proof that it was him. It's the same company he works with, but that's as far as I can confirm. The soundtrack is huge with over 180 tracks. Let's dive into some of the inspirations behind Stellar Blade. The director Kim Hwang-tae mentioned that a lot of his inspiration came from 80s and 90s manga and anime, and games. He also admitted that Nier Automata had a big influence on him, along with Battle Angel Alita and Blade Runner. there was this really interesting interview with Kim Hwang-tae and Yoko Taro that's definitely worth checking out. I'll drop a link in the description. In the interview, they discussed the gaming industry as a whole, but the big headline moment was when Yoko Taro said that Stellar Blade is better than Nier Automata. Now I'm curious, if you played the game or seen videos about it, do you agree with Yoko Taro? Let me know in the comments. Yoko Taro also gave props to the Stellar Blade team for the next-gen graphics, especially the older character models. He mentioned that it's easy to create young models, but older characters are a real challenge. He even complimented the details they put into the shopkeepers. As for the players who might not know about Nier Automata or Stellar Blade, Yoko Taro pointed out that they might be more drawn to Stellar Blade, saying that a white-haired character like 2B isn't as conventional. Aw, poor 2B. I'll go more into depth into some of these highlights in another video, especially now that I've 100%ed Stellar Blade. There's a lot more to talk about. In the same interview, both directors were asked about additional inspirations. They both admitted that Neon Genesis Evangelion played a huge role. Yoko Taro even said that Nier Automata is basically a recreation of Neon Genesis Evangelion. I've already made a video about this, and I'll link that below and at the end of this video if you want to take a look at that. Kim Hwang-tae also pointed out that it's tough to create something that surpasses your source of inspiration, but I definitely see all those influences throughout this game. All three of these series draw inspiration from the novel Childhood's End. This novel had influenced a ton of artists, as well as work in TV and film. Heck, one of the endings in Nier is called Childhood's End. This is another topic I'll probably dive deeper into in a future video, because let's be real, I love me some Neon Genesis Evangelion. Now let's dive into the gameplay mechanics. The battle design team explained that they wanted to create fast, colorful, and stylish combat inspired by games like God of War, Sekiro, Dark Souls, Devil May Cry, and even Bayonetta. As for the basic action RPG setup, the square button is your quick attack, while the triangle button is your strong attack. You can mix these two buttons for different combos. There is also a guard button, which you can use to defend and parry attacks, and of course, you've got a dodge button as well. Now things get a little bit more interesting with your beta skills and burst skills. To use your beta skills, you need to build up beta energy by hitting enemies or successfully parrying their attacks. Burst energy, on the other hand, builds up when you dodge your opponent's attacks. If you're playing in story mode, you can turn on Action Assist. This feature helps you time your dodges and shows on-screen controls for counter skills. Personally, I didn't use this, and I had a tough time getting the counter to work, but no big deal. I was perfectly fine as long as I dodged and parried. You'll also have the ability to perform ambush attacks, including surprise attacks from above. I use these a lot when taking on the more challenging Naytibas. Enemies also have a balance bar. When you land a perfect parry, they'll get off balance and groggy after a few hits. Once they're fully off balance, you'll see a prompt to press triangle to do a retribution attack for massive damage. Next up is Blink. This ability can only be used when an enemy is about to land a fatal attack. When your sword lights up blue, it means you can dodge the enemy's attack and teleport behind them, and then stun them. This is also a way to charge up your burst energy. Then there's Repulse. This is another way to dodge a fatal attack, but this time if your sword turns purple, Eve will push away the enemy and step back. This also temporarily boosts your range attack as well. I'll admit, I messed up with these abilities from time to time. Blink is way more common than Repulse, so I got used to pressing up in circle, but for Repulse, it's down in circle, and I would mess that up pretty often by hitting the wrong direction for Blink instead of Repulse. Throughout the game, you'll also encounter quick-time reactions during certain cutscenes. Honestly, I sometimes forgot they were even there because they're so few and far between. You'll also get to use the support drone as a gun. Throughout the game, you'll unlock explosive ammo and stinger bullets, which will let you lock on to multiple targets. You'll even get a railgun, which is pretty fun to use. Plus, there are other perks for your drone, like hacking. You'll need this to open certain chests. There is also boss battle mode, which lets you replay all the boss fights from the game. This mode also gives you extra outfits for Eve to wear. And there are some smaller details in the game mechanics I'll cover more when I dive into the story. I'm sure a lot of you were excited to see the Nier Automata and Stellar Blade DLC. Just like in Nier Automata, you find Emil driving around, and the only way to stop him is by shooting him or hitting him with your sword, if you're lucky. This time though, Emil's truck is full of, well, crap from within this game. Emil asks you to go around to find Stellar Tears. These Stellar Tears are in-game currency for his shop, where you can buy skins for 2B and A2. You can also get an Emil head for your companions as well as a 9S uniform. Even your drone can sport a pod skin. There are a couple more different outfits for Eve to wear as well. Emil can only be found in the Wasteland or the Great Desert, which makes sense since those are pretty much the only open world areas. When you wear these outfits, you'll also hear some of the music from Nier Automata. The song Memories of Dust plays in the Great Desert, which is fitting since that's the same song that is played in the desert area in Nier Automata. While exploring the Wastelands, you'll hear city ruins. In the camps, you can also listen to Voice of No Return, and once you find Emil and collect all the Stellar Tears, you'll unlock Emil's shop song to play at the camp. Once you've bought everything from Emil, you'll get another cutscene. Emil explains that he needs to go back to where he came from, and says he'll always remember the time spent there. You'll also see all the Stellar Tears you collected for him. If you're familiar with the Nier franchise, you'll recognize these as the lunar tears he's asked you to collect in Automata. Emil tells Eve he hopes their paths cross again, wherever that may be. Then you get a glimpse of his license plate, and the numbers on it are actually the release date for Nier Automata, February 23rd, 2017. He drives off, and you never see him again, even in New Game Plus. But don't worry, they leave one Stellar Tear for you to keep in your inventory. This is a story of a female warrior named Eve, who's fighting against a mysterious life form on a desolated Earth. These life forms are called Natibas, an alien species that came to Earth and drove humanity out into space. The game kicks off with a spacecraft, and we hear the mission orders. Airborne Squad 7 is tasked with exterminating the Alpha Natibas occupying District 3. The goal is to capture and dispatch the Elder Natiba. A fleet of ships begin descending towards Earth, but they're quickly attacked on the way down, and the entire fleet gets wiped out. Only one ship manages to release its drop pods before it's destroyed. Oh, and I'll drop you a link in the description below. There's actually a Stellar Blade comic online. It's a quick story about Taki and Eve training together right before they head to Earth. Now back to the game. It's not exactly a smooth landing for this one pod that our protagonist is in. As we see on her screen, her squad members are disappearing off her screen one by one. When she lands, she's unable to open the door, and someone comes to help open the hatch. It is a woman named Taki, and we get our first look at our protagonist Eve. We're then introduced to the post-apocalyptic world, although at first, all we see is the battlefield. But when you get a moment to breathe, it's clear that things look pretty grim. Eve and Taki fight their way through the area, taking on the Natibas as they head towards the rendezvous point. Watch out for the falling ships and debris though, it's not a safe walk. Once you get there, more of your squad is battling a giant Natiba. You and Taki join in, but suddenly, a spaceship crashes down on the squad and the monster. The entire team is wiped out, leaving only Taki and Eve to complete the mission. But hold on. Turns out the giant monster is still alive, and that means it's boss fight time. Since this is just a tutorial, the boss fight isn't too bad. A lot of these fights are about learning the combos your enemy throws at you. Once you get the hang of it, the parry and dodge mechanics work pretty damn well. After taking down the monster, Eve's body has been pretty beat up from the crash. As the two get ready to head out, Taki suddenly hears something. An explosion sends them both flying. Enter the Alpha Natiba. Taki raises her sword to defend Eve, but the Alpha goes straight for Eve instead. Taki blocks the attack with her body, but unfortunately she loses an arm in the process. The Natiba then stabs Taki, and she tells Eve to run. We see Eve scream for Taki, and that's when we get the title card appear on screen. Next, we're inside an aircraft flying into a city in ruins. We see Eve and an unknown man. His name is Adam. Adam tells Eve that this city is where the Alpha Natiba is. Once they land, Adam explains he'll support Eve with the support drone, and they've landed in the city called Eidos 7. He also explains that this city was the final battlefield of civilization. This part of the game introduces some of the challenges you'll face as you progress. A lot of the times, you'll have to go around searching for Legion soldiers who were killed in the final war. They might have passcodes to gates or doors that you need to get through. You'll also come across codes to help open locked chests scattered around the world. Sometimes you even need the items inside these chests to move forward with the story. Soon you come across a camp. These are supply stations set up by previous airborne squads. Think of it as a save point or a checkpoint. Here you can buy consumables and ammo and upgrade your equipment or acquire new skills. Some of these camps also offer more dialogue between Eve and Adam, giving you more insight into the story. For example, at one camp, Adam tells Eve how he saved her from the Alpha Natiba that attacked her and Taki. There's also a little catch with these rest spots. They replenish your health, but also revive all the Natibas you've just defeated, so keep that in mind. You'll also need to collect certain materials throughout the game to unlock outfits called nanosuits. These can be found in chests, shops, or as rewards for quests. Last time I checked, there were over 90 outfits, but I gave up after getting around 50. This is pretty standard for the game. You'll continue exploring, solving puzzles, and figuring out where to go next. For the most part, Adam will guide you, but sometimes you will need to be a little creative to progress. As you explore, you'll find dead bodies of Legion or other humans. Some of them will give you memory sticks, providing deeper lore and backstory. One of them talks about the Mother Sphere, which hasn't responded to the people. It also mentions the colony falling to Earth, an event Adam refers to as the Colony Extinction Event, which caused major destruction to the planet. There's a note asking Mother Sphere, why? You promised us salvation. Was it a lie? This definitely gives off Nietzsche vibes. God is dead, don't you think? Nihilism rears its head again. As Wisecrack explained,
nihilism is the belief that there is no great metaphysical force propelling us through the world and making our lives special. Existence can be shitty, and there's no grander meaning to comfort us. No puppet master to save us.
If you're into that, be sure to check out their full video. It's a deep dive into the philosophy of Nier Automata. I'll drop a link in the description. The reason I bring this up is that Stellar Blade and Nier Automata does a great job of capturing this feeling. The humans on Earth worship this godlike being called Mother Sphere, who they believe is up in the colony. In another memory stick, we learn that Mother Sphere is seen as their beacon of hope, their prophet, but more on that later. Eve and Adam make it to the parking lot and find another supply camp. After resting, they have a flashback to when Adam saved Eve. Apparently this all happened just the day before. It seems like there was some tension between them. Eve probably had her guard up since she didn't know Adam, but it looks like they worked it out quickly. Their conversations are a bit vague though. Eve asks Adam why he saved her, and he says it was just a feeling he had. They're heading to the Hall of Records now, with Eve's help, because Adam couldn't have made it on his own. They're also still on the hunt for the Alpha Natipa. Once they reach the top of the garage, you face a boss fight. Every area in the game has 3 bosses, and this one is called Abaddon. As a Persona fan, I recognize that name right away. Abaddon is a Hebrew word meaning destruction, and refers to a place of destruction or an angel of the abyss. This fight is a bit tougher due to the lightning attacks, but it's not too bad. And just to clarify, this monster is an Alpha Natipa. After defeating him, it's time to continue down the path. The city is mostly flooded, so you'll need to get to the transportation device to reach the next location. There's a bit of a journey to get there, and along the way, you come across another Legion soldier's memory stick. This one talks about the Eve Protocol, which has just begun. Angels of Death will descend from the colony to rid the Earth of Natipas and save humanity. Mother Sphere salvation is nigh, but hold on a second. Did anyone catch that typo? Form instead of from? Oh well, it's such a small thing. When Eve makes it to another supply camp, her and Adam have a conversation. Eve was surprised to see Adam. Back on the colony, she learned everyone on Earth was completely wiped out. Adam says you can't expect Mother Sphere to know everything. Adam confirms that there are other survivors out there like him. He also explains that Earth is still inhospitable to humans. When you make it to the transportation device, there is no power, so you have to go and restore the power. And to do that, you have to do a quick puzzle. Now, there isn't exactly clear instructions on this. It's just a matter of running with it. In this case, you want to light up every single one of these boxes. The monorail works now, and it will take you to your next location. While on the monorail, we see another flashback to when Taki died, and I want you to take a listen to the dialogue that they have.
Eve, what are you going to do after you defeat the Alpha Natipa?
All Airborne Squad members exist for one sole purpose. All we must do is complete the mission.
You mean the extinction of all Natipas, right? To think that the point of your existence is to snuff out another species. No fun in that.
That is a line that makes the player really think about the choices you're making. Once the monorail ride ends, it's time to head to the Hall of Records. The city is huge, filled with nothing but tall buildings. You're now in what used to be a shopping plaza, but now it's flooded. A little side note, to get through the gate, you need a passcode. Adam's advice? Go to the square building. Thanks, Adam. Real helpful. All of the buildings are square. Turns out the Legion is just 2 buildings away. So now you can move on. At the next supply camp, Eve asks Adam if he's ever met any other squad members before, and why he saved her. Adam says he's not sure. It was just a feeling he had. Then it's time to continue onward. A cool little detail, many of the signs in this area are in Russian. So maybe we're in a Russian region? Just something to think about. Eventually you reach the Hall of Records, and guess what? Time for another challenge. First you'll have to fend off the monsters in the area. There's no power to open the door, but underground you'll find a generator. To get to it, you need a passcode to open the door to the fusion cell. The Legion soldier holding the passcode isn't far from the underground passageway. Once you're inside the Hall of Records, it's massive. The objective now is to find the hyperdrive. You'll hear an audio log explaining that at the start of the 22nd century, humanity's right to life was threatened by global warming. Mother Sphere saw this coming and ensured humanity could survive with advancements in biotechnology and nanotechnology. Apparently, they solved aging and disease, and can even breathe underwater and in space. Though, I'm not sure how that space thing works considering it's a vacuum. Apparently this city, Eidos 7, was the first city ever built by Mother Sphere. Interesting how it was the first city ever built, and the city where the final battle was held in the war. Adam also explains that mankind's past was buried with the final war. This audio must be from before the war. You can now grab the hypercell from the hyperdrive, and the first objective is complete. Time to move on to the next one. Tracking down the Alpha Naytiba. As soon as you go down the stairs, you're in for another boss fight, but it's nothing you can't handle. Afterward, you're on your way to find the Alpha. At the construction site, you see a view of the area. Flooded city, ruins everywhere. Eve and Adam talk about what this place must have looked like before the war. Adam says, imagine bustling streets, crystal clean air, and the people smiling everywhere you look. Eve asks if he's ever seen this, and he says, yes, a long time ago. There's still no clear answer on the exact year the final war happened, but we can guess it was either late 22nd century or early in 23rd century, just in case you were wondering like I was. When you reach the crater where the Alpha Naytiba's territory is, you find a drop pod. It's likely what caused the crater, and Eve says it's from the 5th Airborne Squadron. As you approach, the Alpha Naytiba, Gigas, meaning giant in Greek, appears. He's massive, and avoiding his fatal blows is crucial. They pack a punch. After defeating him, Eve takes the Alpha Core, but something's on Adam's mind. He's about to say something important, but before he can, they hear someone in the drop pod. Eve opens the hatch and finds someone emerges from the drop pod. It's Lily Artemis II, an engineering support member of the 5th Airborne Squadron. She's been waiting for almost 2 years for someone to rescue her. Lily says she can help you on your journey, but will need proper equipment. That's when Adam finally gets to say what he was thinking. There's a city called Xion, where other survivors like him are living. He says they can go there and get help from the people. Xion is under the guidance of Oracle, a spiritual leader, and Adam asks Eve to help save the city. If they succeed, Oracle and Adam will do everything in their power to help Eve with her mission. Eve agrees, but she wants to hear Oracle's story first. And so the three of you head to Xion. The city of Xion is huge. Adam explains that at its peak, over 100,000 people called it home. Of course, he notes there are far fewer now. This city lies beneath the Wasteland, and once again, the structures are massive. When you land, you head straight to the presence chamber, where Oracle is waiting. When you first enter the city, it feels empty. That's the word that comes to mind. Eve and Lily chat about what the colony would do if they knew about this place. And Eve says they'd probably start a rescue mission, though that would be a huge undertaking. Then Lily says something that made me go, huh? The only way to contact the colony is to finish the mission. Wait, what? No way to contact them for backup? No wonder Lily was stuck in that pod. Lily asks why are the streets so empty, and Adam says they've got a situation on their hands. We'll see what that means once we get to the presence chamber. When you reach the chamber, it's a gigantic room. Lily and Adam explain that it's where the memories of those who couldn't return to Mother Sphere are stored. Then you meet Oracle, and I'm getting Ghost in the Shell vibes from this guy. He asks to see the Alpha Core and reveals that your mission is to take out the Elder Naytiba, the leader of all the other Naytibas. When Eve asks how he knew that, Oracle explains that the Alpha Core can't open the path to the nest on its own. If you fuse 4 Alpha Cores together, you can create something called the Master Core. Only with that can you reach the deepest corners of the nest. He claims he knows this because of his personal link. He can search anywhere with the right amount of energy. Basically, he's Big Brother. Next, Adam leads you to the hyperdrive, the source of Xion's energy. He needs you to put the hypercell into the drive, and once you do, the place starts to light up. Lily asks if this is some sort of graveyard, and Adam explains that the people here are in a deep sleep due to their energy depletion. He says continuing like this will only bring darkness, so he asks for Eve's help again. They need 3 more hypercells if they're going to fully rebuild Xion. Huh, interesting plot point. 3 more alpha cores and 3 more hypercells? Coincidence? Maybe not. Back at the President's Chamber. With that hypercell, we've helped thousands of people and Oracle's personal link is becoming stable. Unfortunately, he can't track down any more alpha Naytibas because his energy is going towards powering the cradle. But with more hypercells, he should be able to help. He asks you to find another hypercell in a place called Altess Levoire, out in the Wasteland. Eve agrees. What other choice do they have? Before heading out, Adam asks you to pick up a propulsion control board from the shop called Sister's Junk. This opens up the opportunity for side quests. In this city, people call Eve an angel. At first, they look at her in both awe and fear. They're hesitant, but as you complete more side quests, they begin to warm up to Eve. They see that Eve is trying to help rebuild the city. For example, you stop by a bar where a woman named Enya is singing on stage. Her friend Sue is a bit cold towards Eve at first. But when Eve offers to help without asking for anything in return, he starts to soften up. Sue explains Enya needs repairs, and Lily might be able to help, but Eve will need to go find the necessary parts in the Wasteland. There are plenty of side quests to be found in the Wasteland and the Great Desert. Some are puzzles, others involve finding lost comrades or taking out Naytibas for the locals. You can choose which quests to take on, but they can help you level up and gain valuable items along the way. Some of these quests can be found via the bulletin board. You head over to Sister's Junk and meet a girl running the shop. She hands over the item Adam requested, but then asks you for your help in return. While out scavenging in the Wasteland, she lost her bike and trunk while trying to escape from Naytibas. She asks Eve to find them, and of course, Eve agrees. One of my favorite side characters is Roxanne. She totally gives off Code Vein vibes. Her interactions with Eve are hilarious. The first thing Eve says to her is, "You don't seem very likable." Roxanne replies that she's an info dealer, offering valuable information about the world and side quests. That's an introduction. Now back to the story. Now that Lily's on your team, she will help you throughout the game with upgrades to either the drone or Eve's body. So at this point, she gives Eve a tune-up, unlocking the ability to double jump. You bring Adam the part he needed from Sister's Junk. The problem is the repairs are going to take longer than planned. So Eve wants to travel by foot then, and Adam can guide her using the drone. Eve doesn't want to sit around and wait. She wants to go see the Wasteland for herself. Eve heads into the Wasteland, a vast open area perfect for knocking out side quests and exploring. Good luck trying to catch Emil though. He's a real pain to catch because he just won't stop moving. When you try to activate the camp, something's wrong. It won't turn on. Adam explains that the power needs to be redirected. Outside of Xion, there's a solar tower that powers nearby facilities, and it looks like something's gone wrong there. So now it's up to you to figure out why there's no power to these camps. Technically, you could skip this side quest, but I wouldn't recommend it. This area is so massive, you'll want the fast travel points and camps as safe spots. The mission at the tower isn't too tough. You'll need to climb it and free the droid that's supposed to handle the repairs. Once that's done, you have free reign to explore the Wasteland. You can either dive into some side quests or stick to the main story. It's up to you. You make it to Altess Levoire, where a guard named Quell stands in front of the door. She's a member of the Royal Guard working for Oracle to protect these ruins. She won't let anyone unqualified pass, so now you'll have to fight her to get through. Eve has no problem taking on the challenge. Once you defeat her, she warns that those who venture into the ruins never make it out alive. As you descend, Eve finds she can't use her sword and the drone scanner is disabled. There's an electromagnetic field around the area, but you can still use the drone's ranged weapons. As you explore these so-called ruins, the settings start to feel like something out of Resident Evil game. Lily points out that these ruins actually look quite modern, and Eve agrees. They don't seem like ruins at all. As you continue, you'll encounter puzzles that require solving, and the occasional jump scare from Naytibas. I won't dive into the details of the puzzles here to keep this video shorter. You'll eventually come across a room that appears to be a research facility, filled with chambers everywhere. Now, about that one puzzle designed for a PS5 controller in mind, I'm curious to see how it'll work on Steam. Will they leave it for those playing with DualShock controllers? What do you think? As you move through the facility, Lily wonders if it was used to study Naytibas, and Eve agrees. She notes that understanding your enemy is often the first step in defeating them, but she also thinks this place feels more like a manufacturing facility than a research one. At one point, you'll need to navigate past a fan, and if that doesn't scream Resident Evil, I don't know what does. What game do you think of when you see this? Eventually, you reach the heart of the infection and face off against Maelstrom. I thought the name was interesting given that Maelstrom means powerful, violent whirlpool that sucks in everything within its radius. The battle itself isn't too bad. You'll need to take out the small yellow cores to expose its weakness, all while keeping an eye out for the little minions that can blow up when they get close to you. After defeating Maelstrom, you get the hypercell, but then Eve notices a legacy, a device left behind by the previous Airborne Squadron. These legacies are meant to pass important information onto the next squad. This legacy features a woman named Raven from the 2nd Airborne Squadron, who talks about how only she and 2 others, Ripley and Eidos, survived. She mentions discovering this facility, which seems to have studied Naytibas, but accurate information is hard to come by due to the severe contamination. Raven also talks about the final war, explaining that it was actually the result of the war between humanity and the androids humanity created, the Andro Eidos. Humans lost the war against their own creations, and the few survivors hid in underground facilities, but the hunt was far from over. However, an unexpected factor turned the tide of the war. She says, with humans on the verge of extinction, Naytibas that are from an unknown origin appeared out of nowhere. The war with the Naytibas brought about the destruction of the androids, and this is when the humans made their escape to the colony. Raven vows to continue researching the origins of the Naytibas, hoping it will help her find the Elder Naytiba. Lily points out that there was another war before the final war, which she learned about at the colony. I couldn't help but laugh a little. Yes, Lily, there had to be a war before the final war. That's why it's called the Final War. Adam, I felt like he played the nice guy. He explains that humanity's history is filled with conflict, so it's not surprising to hear about wars before the final war. Eve wonders why this information wasn't passed down. With the hypercell in hand, you head back to Xion to insert it into the hyperdrive. Once it's installed, more lights turn on. Adam comments that what they're doing is a good thing. You then return to Oracle, who provides the location of the next Alpha Naytiba, Matrix 11. As you come back up, you notice more signs are lit, and more people are walking around. It's time to move on to Matrix 11. We now make our way to Matrix 11, which was originally a subway system that later became a bunker. I'm pretty sure the creators drew some inspiration from Alien for this area. Here we encounter face-hugger-like creatures that take over corpses, adding some fun to the mix. As you explore, it's clear that survivors once lived here. It looks like they chose isolation to stay safe, but a series of earthquakes caused structural damage, and the monsters invaded through those cracks. Eventually, you'll have to do a lot of climbing to reach the top, where the Alpha Naytiba awaits. When Adam warns you not to look down, and you do it anyway, his reaction is a nice touch that I appreciated.
Eve, whatever you do, don't look down. Aw, come on.
Remember when I mentioned that I had forgotten about real-time action commands in this game? Well, this is one of those moments that quickly reminded me. If you're playing, I recommend never putting down your controller. At one point, you catch a glimpse of the outside world, revealing the Great Desert. It's a barren wasteland, and it's pretty bleak to look at. Next, we encounter a boss fight with a creature called the Stalker. Once you defeat it, you unlock the burst skills I mentioned earlier in my video, which are some of my favorite skills to use. Now we can continue the hunt for the Alpha Naytiba. After Eve takes a rest, you and Adam discuss where to go next, when suddenly, a loud high-pitched sound interrupts. It's coming from the Airborne Squad channel. Adam says Naytiba shouldn't be able to hack communication lines, and Lily confirms that the sound, along with the negative pattern from the Alpha Core, matches. As you continue exploring, you find evidence of more people who once lived here. This place has clearly been abandoned for a long time. A nearby diary reveals that these people had lived here for 7 years with nowhere else to go. The longer they stayed, the more they lost their faith in Mother Sphere, which is understandable. You also come across an area where they honored the dead. At the next camp, Lily explains that she analyzed and translated the noise, and it says, "Kill me." This is getting pretty dark. Now it's time for the next boss, the Juggernaut. When I saw him, I couldn't help but yell, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!" As expected, his attacks are slower, making it easier to dodge and guard. I thought it was pretty cool when Eve used the Juggernaut's own weapon to crush its head. After reaching the last save point before fighting the Alpha Naytiba, you find a legacy from the 2nd Airborne Squadron. Your team decides to take a look at it later, as you don't want to attract more Naytibas. When you reach the water purification system, you discover the source of the contamination. Upon entering the center, you see what looks like a human hanging above you. Suddenly, the strange noise returns, causing Eve pain. When the person drops to the ground, it's revealed to be Taki, Eve's friend from the beginning of this game. Since Taki is more humanoid Naytiba, she's much faster, but this fight isn't too bad. It's all about learning her combos. During the battle, Taki grows a wing. This one-winged look is something we've seen in other games and media, with one of the most iconic examples being Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. The one-winged angel is an ancient symbol representing a fallen angel. However, it can also symbolize incompletion and loneliness. What do you think about this symbolism? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts and knowledge on this subject. As the fight progresses, we see Taki's mask comes off and her missing arm becomes a second wing. Eve goes in and takes out the wing and that arm of Taki's, and in that same moment takes the Alpha Core. When Eve says it's over, we hear Taki agree with her. Taki is back in control. Taki thanks Eve for freeing her. Then we see her final request.
My memories. Mother, Sphere. Can you send them to her?
Looking at this, Eve more than likely won't be able to keep her promise of bringing Taki's memories to Mother Sphere, since she's been contaminated. But if it'll put Taki's final moments at ease, Eve decides to make that promise anyway. When you return to Oracle, he wants to take a look at Taki's memories. He notices something different this time. It's an Atiba with black wings, the same one that attacked them at the beginning. Oracle can feel its hatred, but can't identify the source. Eve asks why it hates them, and Adam explains that it's not unusual for Natibas to be at odds with humans. However, Oracle can't locate this alpha Natiba, nor can he find the location of any other alphas. So it's time to hunt for another hypercell, and this time, we need to head to Altess Levoire in the Great Desert. When you do speak to Lily later, she gives you an update on modifications for you. She finished customizing the Taki device. You are now able to use Taki's weapons and skills. It's called Taki mode. This gives you an extra boost in power and more abilities to use against your enemies. Now that you've got some time, you can check out the legacy you picked up at Matrix 11. In this one, Raven is alone and talks about her discovery. Mother Sphere is a powerful AI created by mankind. She mentions an engineer named Raphael Marx, the creator of Mother Sphere. She goes on to explain how Mother Sphere brought prosperity to humanity. But of course, there's a twist. She changed her mind after creating the Eidos, her self-made counterpart. After witnessing the limits of humanity and the potential of Eidos, Mother Sphere decided there was no room for mankind. Raven even says, "Our God is not the God of humans." She questions why they worship Mother Sphere, and this raises even more questions for her. Eve and Lily are also confused and have more questions. Eve wants to know why Mother Sphere would want to destroy them. Lily doesn't think this information is credible. Adam makes a comment about how things only exist because people make them, like us. Lily doesn't take that well, and Adam says something that is interesting.
But the truth doesn't need to be kind, only true. The grace of Mother Sphere is a fiction, at least for the humans left here. Maybe you too will come to feel this way.
Eve stops Lily and Adam from fighting and says this isn't the whole story. They don't even know if it's true, and that they need more information. And then it's time to head to Altess Levoire. On your way to Altess Levoire, a sandstorm hits and causes damage to the tetrapod's engines. So it's time to go back to walking everywhere. This marks the next big open area where you can explore, complete side quests, track down Emil, and collect more stellar tears. When you try to activate the supply camp, it's not working. Surprise, surprise! There's an issue with the tower, and you need to figure out why there's no power. Adam suggests asking the sentinels in the area for more information. You find one of the sentinels, but he's badly injured. They are there to investigate the sandstorms. They tried using the service drones to restart the solar tower and get energy flowing again. He asks you to find all the drones and activate them so the tower can power up. Finding the drones is the easy part, but when you return to the tower, there's an Atiba waiting for you, a stalker type. For some reason, this one gave me a bit of a challenge. After defeating him, you can finally head up to the tower and turn on the solar tower, bringing power back to the camps. With the Great Desert unlocked, you'll meet a guy named Clyde who gives you a fishing pole. Yes, fishing time! Like most games with fishing, it requires patience and time to catch all the fish available in the game. You finally make it to Altess Levoire, and of course, there's another royal guard waiting for you. Yep, another test. She's pretty similar to the last one, but once you learn her combos, you can throw her off balance and use Retribution to deal some serious damage. After you defeat her, you're allowed to enter Altess Levoire. Once inside, it's the same drill as before. You can't use your sword, and the drone can't use its scanner. This time, though, Lily will help you navigate while Adam works on repairing the tetrapod. But don't get too excited about action. There's less fighting here and more annoying puzzles. I lost track of how many times I died trying to solve them, or make the perfect jump. Some of the puzzles have me wondering what even killed me. As you explore, you'll come across a familiar room, the capsule cluster room. Eve comments that it looks more like a factory than a lab, and I gotta say, I agree with her. When you unlock the gate to the underground passage, things get a little more fun. There's a hallway packed with Naytibas, and you can unload everything you've got on them using your drone. It's a pretty nice opportunity to practice your range attacks. After some puzzle solving, it's time to face the source of the contamination. Yep, another maelstrom. The battle is the same as before. Take out its weak points to reveal its core. Nothing too crazy. Once Eve grabs the hyperdrive, she says she found another legacy, and says that it's almost like they're being planted here for us to see. It is Raven again. She explains that she learned a war ignited by Mother Sphere broke out, and as previously recorded, humanity was defeated. Earth then became the stage for Eidos, and these Eidos declared themselves as the new human race. The new human race with Mother Sphere at its heart made tremendous progress and advances for humanity, and the surviving humans, the real humans, they evacuate to an underground facility. Some, led by Raphael Marx, waited here at the facility for an opportunity to strike back. During this time, the surviving humans evolved in order to gain the strength to face the androids. The results of a genetic engineering and rapid evolution. Beings that had lost everything though. Everything but brute strength and survival instincts. That's what they've become. Monsters. The monsters that we're fighting were once human. Eve is shocked by this revelation. She realizes that all the creatures they've been killing were once human. She confirms that this facility was creating them. And then she realized that those fighting the Naytibas are actually Eidos. Lily refuses to accept this. No, we're humans. Humans with complete bodies, perfectly in harmony with machinery and living tissue. She points out that Naytibas are incomplete because they're made only of living tissue and can't adapt to their environments. Eve raises a big question. What if they were created to solve such imperfections? You and the team decide to go talk to Oracle about this. They go back and talk to him, and he does share that those who came before them were responsible for the creation of Mother Sphere. They are referred to as the last surviving humans. They created Eidos through Mother Sphere, and for a time they lived in kind of a symbiosis with them. It's unclear on when Mother Sphere made the decision, but she thought humanity's survival depended on reorganization of the species, and that conflict led to war, and the eventual extinction of the surviving humans. The few who escaped destruction were scattered to the winds, but some managed to flee and find shelter in the ruins, in Levoire. It was originally a facility for the purpose of genetically evolving mankind. The lifespans of surviving humans were very short. The facility was the birthplace of the Naytibas, and he confirmed what Raven said is true. All this time, they have been waging war on their own ancestors. Since you got another hypercell, his personal link has extended farther. The next Alpha Naytiba cannot be found on Earth. Oracle asks, what will you do now? Lily says the Naytibas are still their enemy, and Eve says, we've come this far. No choice but to reach the nest through the Master Core. Oracle says when we return, he will share the rest of the story, but then he says maybe it would be best to hear it straight from the Elder's mouth. Your next destination is the orbit elevator. At this point, you're getting pretty close to a point of no return. If you've been working on side quests, now's the time to wrap them up before you move forward. You can complete Enya and Sue's story, the little android diggers missions, and even the Sister Junk story, among others. Don't leave anything undone. This is your last chance. Before heading to the orbit elevator, Lily asks if they can make a detour to Eidos 9. She explains that there's a workshop there, a place she used to hide out, and she wants to pick something up from there. So off to Eidos 9 they go. When they arrive, they run into a little problem. There are aerial interception Naytibas all over the place. No flying until those guys are dealt with. Eve has to clear the area before they can continue on to Lily's hideout. To take out these Naytibas, Eve will need to move rooftop by rooftop. Of course, there are also regular Naytiba guards hanging around, so you'll need to deal with them too. These aerial interception types have their own defense mechanisms. They shoot out spikes like a porcupine, but they're easy enough to dodge. There are a total of 9 you need to take out to proceed. When you reach a camp, Eve asks Lily, why choose to live in a place like this? Lily explains that back in the day, this area was free of Naytibas, mainly because the Naytibas didn't like water, but it seems they've evolved since then. Finally, they reach Lily's hideout, called Atelier. Lily lets you look around while she heads downstairs to grab something. There's not much to see, but hey, you can fish here if you're into that. When Lily comes back up, she shares that she has a comrade who also survived. Her name is Ibris, the colony's greatest hacker. She fell asleep a year ago due to body cell damage, and Lily cares deeply for her. Lily promises to visit Ibris more often. She also grabs Ibris's memory stick containing a deep algorithm hacking system. This, she says, is Ibris's legacy. With that, it's time to continue on to the orbit elevator. As you head for the orbit elevator, Adam seems a bit distracted. He's not really listening. He says he got a message from Xion. Something serious is happening and he needs to return. Eve says that she will go alone. Lily offers to take over the drone operations. Adam can take the hoverbike back to Xion while she operates it. Adam is trying to make excuses on how you need skills to operate the drone, but Lily is smart enough to be able to handle this. Adam doesn't like the idea, but Eve says he can trust them, and he agrees to go back to Xion on the hoverbike. So now it's just you and Lily. There are Naytibas that seem to be fused with the machines around here. You have to make your way through this complex to get to the elevator. When you're inside the facility, there is a hypertube that is used as a way of transportation quickly from one facility to another. You have to find a way to turn on the hypertube to get to the elevator. Now, when you get to ride the hypertube, this part was a challenge for me. To be honest, I'm terrible at these, but I managed to get through it. There is an Naytiba that crashes your ride. Its name is Bella. He is a quick one. After you crash outside the hypertube, you have to fight it. But the battle isn't too long. Eve chops off its arm and it runs away. Afterward, you take a break at a camp, where Eve shares that she felt real emotions coming from the Naytiba. She felt anger from it, and the certainty that it will be back. As you head outside, you're met with a new obstacle, plasma turrets that instantly kill you if you're hit. Now this first one is destroyed by dropping a container on top of it. Easy enough. Thank you, story plot. But for whatever reason now, containers are just falling on you and you have to avoid everything. When you reach the next save point, Lily and Eve talk about connecting to the network to share the information, including what they've learned about the Naytibas. When you finally reach the entrance of the orbit elevator, there's a motion sensor turret that will obliterate you in one shot if you're in range. You'll need to sneak around, hiding behind vehicles and other objects to avoid being spotted. Once inside the lobby, it's clear that the contamination is much worse than anywhere else you've seen so far. Some of the memory sticks you find here belong to the Legion, who had to leave their families behind. Many stayed behind while their families went up to the colony. This place was built to commemorate the father of technology, innovation, and space development, Raphael Marx. They even named this place after him. Shocker, some of the power is out and you have to fight through Naytibas to turn the power back on. I will admit, the one puzzle to turn the power back on took me a hot second to figure out the controls to be quickly at it. With the power restored, it's time to continue. At the next save point, Eve asks how many orbit elevators there are, and Lily tells her that before the war, there were 4. We've seen a couple of them already. One at the start of the game, and another one at the construction site in Eidos 7. This is the only one left, and it's crucial for the colony's supply transport. As you're traveling through the center, you come across your new friend that seems to have been waiting for you. Lily says your blade will not be enough for this battle. At first, this battle seems way too easy. And of course, it is way too easy. This little bastard regenerates over and over again. Lily has an idea and begins to overcharge the railgun. By the 4th time you've taken out his health, you and Lily use the railgun to take him out. Lily explains that we will only be able to overcharge the drone maybe once or twice. We can finally ride the cargo elevator. When Eve asks if it works, Lily says that the last log recorded its use was 173 days ago. She can't figure out who was on it or what was on it. Once you get on the elevator, you're just waiting until you reach the central core. But of course, it can never be that simple. The corruption blocks the elevator from continuing upward. So we have to go outside and start climbing. Along the way, we find some interesting reports. The contamination started at the top, in space, which raises the big question, how the heck did that happen? Once outside, we start the climb. I know Eve's body is designed to withstand different climates, but does she have like a built-in heater? It must be freezing up there. With how sensitive the game is to jumping on these tiny landings, this was probably the most nerve-wracking part for me. We come across what I guess you would call the sleeping quarters, a VIP room, and we're greeted by Arissa, a maid-type unit. She guides us upstairs and we finally get a view of the outside, and wow, chef's kiss to the game developers. It's a stunning sight. My only complaint is the light from the drone was blocking part of my view. I was just yelling at my screen for Lily to get out of my way. Arissa guides you further up and Naytibas come and crash the party, and a small fight breaks out. Then we continue onward. We have to find the elevator past the prestigious lounge. When you get to the door, there is an AI that is keeping the door locked, so you have to destroy the AI in order to get the door open. And when Eve and Lily take a break at the camp, we get a little bit of a Ghost in the Shell horror vibes of something watching you. We make it to the Vermilion Garden, and man, that is beautiful. It's a shame that the flowers are fake though. But while Eve and Lily are checking out the garden, Lily is attacked, and we see the Naytiba named Karukuri, and it is a Japanese word which means a type of doll or device that moves with simple mechanics. And I stated before, this gives Ghost in the Shell vibes. Eve takes note that they seem to be getting smarter too, because it took out the drone first. After taking it down, we see the drone is still working and Lily is in control. Now we can finally go through the AI locked door. Lily and Eve discuss how this Naytiba used multiple humans, and Lily wonders if that's how it became so intelligent. Another breathtaking view outside, and yep, we're officially in space now. But the elevator stops again, so more climbing. Finally, we reach the center core, but something feels off. Then we see it. A giant alpha Naytiba falls right into the center. Eve asks, what did it do to itself? And tells it she will put an end to its pain. This beast is called Demo Crawler. Like most fights, it's not too bad once you learn its combos. Just watch out for the occasional laser blasts. But when Eve defeats it, she tries to rip out its core, only to realize she can't find it. Then this monster throws Eve into space, which I'm gonna say it now. Sure, she quote unquote can survive in space, but space is a vacuum. Alright, anyway, ending rant, because now we see the real alpha Naytiba. It's called the Demogorgon. Lily and Eve are using the railgun to fire at the alpha. You have to take out the smaller eyes to target the bigger eye, and Eve takes out the alpha Naytiba. Eve is now falling back to Earth. Lily frantically tries to call for help from the colony, and then a suit comes flying in, grabs Eve, and takes her back to safety. It returns her to Lily, back on Earth. Lily thinks Mother Sphere must have heard her. Eve thanks Lily for saving her, but still, no word from Adam, so they head back to Xion. When you make it back to Xion, it's on fire. People are screaming and running for their lives. Chaos everywhere. As you land, Lily informs you that there's a signal coming from the presence chamber. It's an alpha Naytiba. She stays behind to work on the exosuit while you head to investigate. When you make it down to the presence chamber, the Oracle personal guard was taken out, and when you look closer, you realize it's the same alpha Naytiba that killed Taki. Then it speaks. The Naytiba says that Eve was the one responsible for the fall of Xion. This is the first Naytiba, well, I guess second outside of Taki, who can speak. The Naytiba says, in spite of everything, I do wonder why he chose you instead of me. Eve has no idea who this he is and wonders what is it talking about. But one thing is clear, whoever he is, this Naytiba won't let Eve anywhere near him. For the first time, we actually get to fight this thing, and wow, it's fast. It has a much wider range attacks compared to the previous fights, but the real game changer, it is called the enemy insta-kill skills. These abilities you are unable to block or dodge, so you have to use range attacks to interrupt their casting. The challenge is also they are still attacking you with their own attacks at that same time. But after a grueling fight, Eve finally takes it down and rips out its core. And then something unexpected happens. Someone comes out of it. It's Raven from those legacies, and she makes a run for it. Eve goes to check on the Oracle's guard, and he tells you that Oracle is in the hyperdrive. When you go to Oracle, you learn he's actually a Naytiba. He explains that he is the first fusion between Eidos and a Naytiba. He is the first alpha Naytiba. He explains in the past he killed so many humans, and he was left for dead after the colony extinction. But humans found him and saved him. At that point, he lost his reason to fight. After he sealed the power of the alpha, he gathered all the survivors he could and built Xion. He thought this would be a way to atone for his sins. He says he tried to conceal his identity for as long as he could, but Raven had to be stopped. Since you were unable to get the last alpha core, he rips out his own core, and once all 4 cores are together, they form the master core. You can now go to the Elder Naytiba, and we see Oracle pass. Later, we see Xion is a wreck. Everyone outside is with you. Eve apologizes for not being able to do more to help. Of course, they don't blame her, and they thank her because if it wasn't for her, they would all be dead. As this is the last time you'll be able to do some shopping, most of these guys will offer you discounts to their store, and they say their goodbyes to you. Alright, let's talk about this moment, because we're officially now in endgame territory. This game has 3 different endings, and your choices matter. Remember how I said you could choose whether or not to do the side quests? Well, if you skip every single one, congratulations, you've locked yourself out of the true ending. In fact, if you barely did any of the side quests and ignored most of the lore, only Kaya will show up here at the end. None of these guys will be here at the end of the game. The other quick sign that you're not going to get, I guess we'll call it the true ending, is if you never went to Eidos 9. Now it's time to talk to Lily and head to the nest. The big problem, they still have no idea where Adam is or what happened to him. But then Lily remembers something crucial. Adam put a tracking device on his bike, so it is time to take off. When you arrive at the path where Adam's bike is, it is the same location where the path to the nest is. Lily hops into the exosuit to help Eve out with this upcoming battle. As we move forward, we come across the Fallen Colony module. It looks like it's covered in blood. We also stumble upon another legacy from Raven. This time, she's questioning their so-called called God. Mother Sphere, the entity they were told saved humanity from the ruin and gave them life. She might not be the saint they believed. She says the only peace they know is because of the blood on Mother Sphere's hand. The rebellion started by Mother Sphere grew into war, a war in which mankind paid a terrible price. The humans that remained eventually evolved into Naytibas and made their way to the colony, to Mother Sphere. In order to prevent the colony's contamination, Mother Sphere destroyed the orbit ring, and with it, 30 of its space modules. The remnants of the orbit ring fell to the ground, causing a catastrophic wave that swept the Earth. This is when civilization, as they knew it, came to an end. Lily, of course, is in total shock. She refuses to believe it and blames Naytibas for Earth being the wasteland it is. She yells, "We're not just machines that someone created." But then comes the heavy part. Lily looks to Eve, waiting for confirmation, for reassurance, but gets nothing, just silence. Eve is just as shocked. As Eve and Lily continue onward, they come across Adam's bike. As you reach the entrance of the nest, Raven steps in to confront you. She admits she always knew she was just a tool, a pawn meant to guide Eve to him. She even confesses that she deliberately left the legacies behind for Eve to find. Not that this is news. Eve had already figured that much out, but Eve doesn't care about Raven's excuses. She's furious. Taki is dead because of Raven, and that's all that matters. Raven, however, insists that Mother Sphere is the real deceiver. She claims Eve would have remained blissfully ignorant if it weren't for him. Raven says she understands him better than anyone. Eve doesn't understand his pain, his agony. Raven declares that Eve being the chosen one, it ends here. Eve doesn't hesitate. She turns to Lily and tells her to stay out of this fight. This is her battle. And the fight begins. Raven hates that she has to fight you in her form that Mother Sphere created, but it will not matter. Now this fight, easily one of my favorites in the game. It's tough, but so good. It also helps that the battle music for this fight is a banger. I'm just vibing during this battle. At some point in the fight, Raven says that there is an unspoken truth that Eve won't speak of, which I noticed this as well. Eve is way more aware of what's going on, and she will not admit it. Raven then delivers another brutal truth. Even if they complete their mission, Eve and Lily will never return to the colony as heroes. They know too much. They've seen too much. They can't be controlled anymore, and Mother Sphere has no use for them now. Now, when you beat Raven, it is such a satisfying way to end the battle, in my opinion. When you finally defeat Raven, Eve straight up rips off her arm. Raven, refusing to back down, lunges for another attack, so Eve takes her other arm, and then pins Raven to the cliff. Raven, bleeding and beaten, tells Eve she fought well. But then she asks, "Why are you hesitating? Because we're comrades? Or is it because I'm human, like you?" Then she points out how Eve doesn't believe they are human. Eve doesn't respond. Instead, she delivers one final, brutal blow, severing Raven's mainframe nerve fibers and exospine. Raven is completely immobilized, and then tells her,
You've taken so much from me. In exchange, I'll allow you to witness the end. In that state.
Damn, that was so badass. This hurts Raven's pride more than anything else. Death would have been an easy escape, but this is so much worse. A fate more cruel than anything else, to be powerless and watch as it all unfolds. With the Master Core in hand, the door to the nest opens, and it's time to move forward. This nest, it's actually pretty inside. It looks like the very birthplace of the Naytibas. It's quiet, peaceful, but not everything is thriving. Some of the eggs aren't making it through the creation process, it looks like. Finally, we reach the end, and standing there waiting for you, it's Adam. So now let's dive into the 3 different endings. I'll start with what you could call the bad endings, and then we'll get into the true ending. When Eve sees Adam, he tells her he's been waiting for her. She's not surprised. Deep down, she had a feeling it was him all along. This ties back to what Raven said about the unspoken truth. Lily, however, is confused and asks why Adam is there. In response, Adam reveals his wings. As I mentioned before, these wings can symbolize incompletion and loneliness, which, in a way, feels fitting for him. Adam apologizes to Eve, explaining everything that has happened until now, and even before, began with me. I am the source of it all. This pretty much confirms what I suspected. He's Raphael Marx. This is further verified when you unlock more information in his updated bio. Eve, however, demands to know what Adam is really scheming. He pretended to help her on her mission, all under the guise of helping Xion. But what is he truly after? He says he wants atonement, he wants forgiveness, and he wants them to heal. Everything he has done, he is done sincerely. Eve questions him, asking, what about the people of Xion, my comrades? Why did they have to die? Adam apologizes for Raven, explaining that she had her own motives. In a way, she was a lot like Oracle. He explains that Eve was created by the surviving humans to look and act like them, while the Naytibas were seen as nothing but monsters. From the very beginning, coexistence was a struggle, something that doesn't surprise him. Adam says the Naytibas were weak, not fully mature enough to accept the Andro Eidos. He explains that in order to survive, they gave up their humanity. Lily argues that the Naytibas threw them out into space, but Adam counters that Earth is simply too small for both species to coexist. However, he also states that even if all the Naytiba were wiped out, the Andro Eidos could never truly succeed the human race. After all, they were created entirely from scratch, with no human DNA at all. Eve asks him, what will he do? Is he the one to end this slaughter? He simply answered yes. He has been researching for decades to find a way for them all to become the inheritors of the human race. An Andro Eidos, with the most advanced unisonous hyper body ever created, and the ultimate Naytiba that hasn't given in to its hostile instincts. Those were the two ingredients, Adam explains. And that's when this all clicked for me. They're pulling an Adam and Eve. They're literally trying to restart the human race. I see what you did there, game developers. Adam then makes his grand offer. He and Eve should fuse together to become the seeds of a new human race. Lily doesn't believe him and tells Eve not to listen. Adam pleads with them, saying Mother Sphere will do the same thing over and over again. He says he wouldn't be surprised if she even destroyed the colony and thereby Earth. She will not stop. Lily points out that there is no proof this fusion will work. Adam agrees with Lily, but he still has his drive to save the new humans and the surviving humans. Was and is sincere. He then gives Lily the hypercell. This is the last hypercell that is needed to rebuild Xion. And with this now, no matter what choice Eve makes, Xion will be saved. Adam still tries to reason with Eve, pushing his plan forward. Her mission is to destroy the Elder Naytiba, but if she fuses with him, the Elder Naytiba, as they know it, will cease to exist. He reaches out his hand and asks Eve to take it. He could save her, they could save each other, and together they could save everyone. And this is where you have to make your choice. The decision will determine the ending of the game. If you choose to not take his hand, Eve will not accept this outcome. Eve says that no matter the blood on Mother Sphere's hand, no matter how heavy Adam's burden is to save the surviving humans, she does not want to be controlled by those things anymore. She wants to make her own decisions, as nobody else but herself. Even the decision to bring Adam down. Adam accepts her answer, but he still has things worth protecting. What's adorable is that Lily wants to try to help Eve, but Adam just casually waves a hand and stops her, like she's a minor inconvenience. A little rude. Then Adam starts repeating the same cryptic lines he's been saying throughout the game. It's almost like he's not even trying to fight back. But just when things seem weirdly easy, Lily breaks free and tries to attack Adam. Bold move, Lily. Unfortunately, Adam shuts her down effortlessly. For extra disrespect, he straight up poofs the exosuit out of existence. Gone. Just like that. Eve jumps in and tells Lily to hide. Then we see Adam will become a true monster and transforms. Eve and Adam are also teleported into some unknown area. Adam reveals his form as the Elder Naytiba. And okay, credit where it's due. He looks pretty damn cool. But don't get too distracted because just like when you fought Raven in her Naytiba form, Adam also has an insta-kill attack. So if you don't throw off his concentration in time, that'll end this battle real quick. Eve defeats the Elder Naytiba. They are brought back to the nest, and Eve apologizes, and Adam says, with this, the history of humans is over. Her will, her actions, her decisions. He hopes that everyone is guided in the right direction. We see him turn into bones, and even his bones look like they have gold veins. Eve says goodbye to Adam, and the eggs are imploding, and the nest begins to collapse. When they make it out of the nest, a figure appears before them. It is Mother Sphere. She is an odd one. She tells Eve she respects her decision, as bittersweet as it is. Mother Sphere tells Eve and Lily it is time to go home, and a ship appears to take them home. Lily points out they still have things to do. Eve says they will pay Mother Sphere a visit. They have questions for her, and they board the ship and it takes off. We see that the ship is traveling in space towards the colony, and Lily can see the colony. Lily is surprised by something she sees with the colony, and we don't know what this is, as this is our first time seeing it. So this is an annoying cliffhanger. It looks like maybe the colony is, I don't know how to describe it, looks old. It looks like it has dust all around it, and the fact that it is huge is also impressive. We may have gotten a hint of it when Eve fired the railgun through the Alpha Naytiba in space. You could see a barrier behind it, and then the game ends with the text, "The journey to find the truth continues." Now this next ending happens if you skip all the side quests and don't bother going to Eidos 9 for Lily. But this time, instead of fighting Adam, Adam, you take his hand. Eve agrees to the fusion and walks towards Adam. Lily is not having it. She protests, trying to stop Eve. The purpose of our existence is to eliminate the Elder Naytiba and save mankind, as Eve puts it. Then she drops a heavy question. Naytiba or Andro Eidos? Does one deserve to be called human more than the other? If an entire species is wiped out just so another can survive, can we really call that salvation? Eve wants to find a way to save both species, and she's determined to follow the path until the very end. Adam nods in agreement. He says, I want the same thing. He explains that he and Eve are mirrors of each other. Your choice may not bring peace and stability right away, but our union will create the greatest chance for a peaceful future. And with that, we see them fuse. When the transformation is complete, Eve stands before us in her new form. Lily, still in shock, hesitates before asking, is that you? Eve confirms, yeah, it's me. She can't quite describe it, but she knows she's still herself. But before anyone can process what just happened, the exosuit suddenly powers up. Something is wrong. The colony seems to be taking control of the suit. Its systems detect a Naytiba nearby, Eve, and it locks onto her as a target. Lily panics, she can't override it, and she has zero control. And just like that, the fight against Providence begins. No surprise here, this machine hits hard. And of course, it has an insta-kill attack you really need to interrupt. Lily desperately tries to stop it, wishing she had Ibris's hacking code. But then, the machine suddenly announces, unauthorized hacking detected. That's not good. Before anyone can react, it coldly follows up with eliminate. Sparks fly as Lily is electrocuted inside the exosuit. She goes limp, just hanging there, motionless. And that's it. Eve snaps. Fueled by pure rage at Mother Sphere, she unleashes her full power on Providence, ready to tear it apart. Eve dismantles Providence piece by piece, ripping it apart limb by limb. Once the battle is over, she rushes to get Lily out of the exosuit, calling out to her. Lily is still alive, barely. When Eve tells her, let's go home, Lily says, you know, I prefer the old Eve. Ouch, that hurt me in my soul. Her last words are, she does not want to become one with Mother Sphere. We see Eve cry, but there's nothing more she can do. With sorrow weighing heavy on her, Eve leaves the nest. We see Mother Sphere come down and give some weird monologue about starry nights able to predict the future. She talks about how no matter what, she will always serve the future, even if that future doesn't go according to plan. She tells Eve that she met more than her expectations. Mother Sphere says the final decision was a bit disappointing, yes, but she still thanks Eve. She says this now concludes the Eve protocol and takes her leave. But when she leaves, a ship appears in front of Eve. Actually, a lot of ships. And pods drop right in front of Eve, and more Andro Eidos units appear. Then we see Eve put down the remains of Lily, and now Eve prepares to fight. She says, I swore we would meet again, our god, and draws out her sword, and begins the fight between you and these other androids. Then the final text says, her journey does not end. Now onto the final and true ending. The dialogue starts the same as in the last ending. Eve and Adam fuse, and just like before, the colony sends a command to the exosuit Lily is in, turning it against Eve. The fight against Providence begins once again. But this time, since you went to Eidos 9 and got Ibris's memory stick, Lily is able to hack the exosuit and escape before it's too late. She quickly hides while you take on the suit. Now with nothing holding her back, Eve can finally unleash her power. But there's a catch. You've got 2 minutes to take it down. Eve takes down the machine with style, and it is absolutely awesome to watch. After the battle, Lily rushes over and hugs Eve, admitting she was terrified she'd be left alone. With that, the two leave the nest and head back to the tetrapod. And guess who's waiting for them? Yep, it's Mother Sphere. Back at it again with her weird, cryptic Starry Night monologue. She goes on about predicting the future is like trying to find a single star in an endless sky. She still claims to serve the future, but this time she admits, whether that future will embrace me, I cannot say. Then she drops something interesting. She refuses to give up for the sake of father. She's talking about Adam, the one who created and taught her. Finally, she tells Eve that she must determine whether Eve truly is that future. Mother Sphere tells Eve she met more than her expectations. Still says the same thing though. The final decision was a bit disappointing, yes, but she still thanks Eve. Lily asks, what are you talking about? Then Mother Sphere takes her leave, saying this concludes the Eve protocol. And just like the last ending, there are tons of ships there. Mother Sphere takes off before they could ask any questions, and we see pods drop down. Eve tells Lily to stay back, and we see more of these androids come out of their pods. And Eve drops her weapon, saying she will gladly play her part, and you have to fight these androids. Then we get the credits. credits. But after the credits, we get more of the ending. We see the sun rising, and Eve has taken out all the Eidos. Then the next scene is Lily putting in the hypercell into the hyperdrive, and we see all of the lights come on in the cradle, and we see everyone that you helped out throughout the game. We see this planet-looking thing light up in the center of town, and on top of it is Eve, and we see her jump down, and then it cuts to black. The final text says, "Their journey continues on." With this, we've also unlocked New Game Plus. There's not too much to go over, but they did add some cool features. You get access to more powerful skills, and everything you've already unlocked carries over. Plus, hard mode is now available. Oh, and let's talk about some of the cosmetics. Eve gets to wear a Raven suit. On top of that, you receive a special pair of earrings called the Symbol of Legacy. When you enter Taki mode, with these equipped, Eve transforms into her fusion state. Another neat addition in the New Game Plus is a new feature in the top right corner, a silhouette of Lily with a progress bar. To fill this up, you need to complete certain side quests and find documents or memory sticks throughout the game. Once that bar hits 100%, Lily will ask you to go to Eidos 9. As mentioned before, this is a key requirement to unlocking the true ending. Now I want to dive into some of my theories and religious comparisons. First, the religious comparisons. In the book of Genesis, Adam and Eve were the first humans created by God, but in this game, they fused to become the last humans on Earth, or, as I mentioned before, the beginning of a new human species. Then we have Lily. Her name immediately makes me think of Lilith from Judaism. However, beyond the name, her connection is less clear. Lilith was the first independent woman created alongside Adam, but ultimately leaving the Garden of Eden to gain her freedom. Similarly, Lily has been separated from Mother Sphere for a long time, yet she struggles with the truth that Mother Sphere has been deceiving them all along. But if we're talking about true Lilith symbolism, I actually think Raven fits the role better. Raven wanted to be the one to fuse with Adam. She even said during the fight with Eve that she had served Adam for a long time. She understood his pain, his suffering, and his agony, and she absolutely despised Eve for being the one he chose. Her rage even led to her to go on a rampage at Xion. Now, Adam's true form as an Alpha Natiba looks more like an angel than a monster, perhaps inspired by the Archangel Raphael, which I think his name is based off of. In many religious texts, Raphael is known as the angel of healing, which would make sense considering Adam's ultimate goal of uniting both species. But what do you all think? Did you catch any references I didn't? Do let me know what you all think about this and what references you guys saw. This game is layered, and I love it. It gets so philosophical, making you question meaning and purpose and morality. Earlier in my video, I pointed out how the characters view Mother Sphere as a god, something even Eve acknowledges in one of the endings we just covered. The game itself feels like a journey of finding meaning in what you're doing. Eve starts with a clear-cut mission, destroy the Elder Natiba. But early on, Adam challenges her by asking, is it truly right to wipe out an entire species just so another can survive? Then finding Raven's legacies only deepens Eve's existential crisis. Honestly, I can go on and on about this, but for the sake of time, I'll save it for another video. There's just so much to unpack. Now, I also have a list of unanswered questions that I want to share with you. What did Lily see? Why was she so shocked when she saw the colony? Why didn't Adam stop Raven? He clearly had the power to, so why let her go unchecked? When did Adam change from Raphael Marx to Adam? Also, how old is he at this point? He was one of the key figures in turning the humans into a Natiba, so I need more information on when exactly he became one himself. Since he created Mother Sphere, when did things go south between them? When did Mother Sphere decide to wipe out humanity? And what did Adam do to try to stop her? By the end of the game, it seems like he wasn't in control of the Natibas anymore, since he couldn't even stop Raven. But at some point, did he ever have control over them? After all, the Natibas and Eidos were at war, and we know the Natibas eventually reached the colony at some point. What was the last trip on the elevator 173 days ago? Who was on it? What was on it? If Adam didn't turn Taki into an Alpha Natiba, did Raven do it? Is Raven's ability to switch between Natiba and Eidos forms because she isn't the complete fusion Adam was trying to create? Will Raven be back? I hope so. Her fight was so fun. I love the idea of Eve having a rival like Raven. I'd totally be fine if they kept trying to kill each other, or maybe one day they come to a mutual understanding, but still trying to kill each other. There isn't a clear timeline, or at least not exact dates, so a lot of this is pure speculation, and honestly, I have no answers. But let me know in the comments, what questions did you guys have about this game? One small opinion I have about this game, some of the chess puzzles were frustrating. The game gives you zero explanation, no button guide, no hints, just figure it out yourself approach. So naturally, I skipped some of them thinking I couldn't open them. Turns out, my dumbass just didn't realize they were some very simple puzzles. Also, can we talk about that obnoxious little hint button in the top right corner? Chill. I just want to explore the area. You don't have to keep bugging me every 5 seconds. Another thing, the jumping mechanics, landing on the ropes or small pass, way too sensitive. Sometimes it felt like more of a challenge than the actual combat. But aside from those nitpicks, the combat was an absolute blast. The graphics, stunning. I truly think this game set a new standard for future JRPGs. Yoko Taro has his work cut out for him. The game is fantastic. I loved every bit of it, and I cannot wait to make more videos on it. There's still so much to discuss. I won't go as far to say that this game was way better than Nier Automata, but I do think it was just as good. Nier has had more time to expand its story, but I'm so excited to see what's next for the Stellar Blade universe. What do you all think of the game? Did you love it? Hate it? And if you've played Nier Automata, how did you think it compares? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and smash that like button. It really helps my channel grow. Thank you all for your continued support, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!